Okay. Yeah, really proud of the guys. That was a great last drive by the offense. It was an unusual game. We both had 8 series in the ball game, and normally you have 11 or 12. So you had to use every single one of them to the best of your ability. And I thought, that last drive, I think we took almost 5 minutes off the clock and got the field goal by Ethan Sanchez. He's having a phenomenal season for us, and so there's a lot of good things on both sides of the ball. And it's like I told these guys, all these games, everybody we play is going to be good. So we got to bring our A game in order to be successful.
Willie, can you update us on Stephon Johnson?
Yeah, he's. I don't have a final word, but he is going to see the doctor again today. So we'll know 100% for sure by tomorrow. So I don't want to.
And can you give us an update on Kurt Hester?
I'm going to go see Kurt here in just a little bit, as a matter of fact. So I'm as soon as I get done here, Coach Lanholm and I are going over to see Kurt, and I went and saw him. He was very, very upset that he wasn't able to be at the game. He wanted to go to the game, and his wife and I, more so his wife than me, told me he needed to stay in the hospital and take care of himself. So. He's fighting and scratching and clawing.
Willie, is Boogie, is that an ankle or is that a foot?
Foot.
Now, so was it premature what he posted then last night since he's going to the doctor? He said he was out for the year.
Well, you always want to get second opinions and get other people to look at you and all those kind of things. I've been doing this a couple of years, and I just like to cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
So this is your second walk-off win of the season. First one was in Oregon. Second one's at home. What was the difference just feeling it at home?
Oh, I just thought it was, we had to, we weren't, playing great. Defensively, there's times we played really well, but I thought Rook Brown had a sensational game for us. But we missed some tackles. We, lost. I give a lot of credit to their quarterback. I think their quarterback is a very, very good football player. I think he was 24, 26, and I think he only completed maybe 3 balls over 10 yards. But did a good job of his check down, did a good job running the ball when he needed to. He's hard to keep in the pocket and very elusive. But yeah, it was great to see the guys come down the field. We knew we wanted to get a little bit better field position for the kick. We were kind of going into a little bit of a wind, and we got the ball close enough. And Ethan did a great job of hitting it right between the pipes. So very exciting. I thought our guys didn't panic. The other thing that was good is we had the 2-minute timeout, and we had 2 of our timeouts left as well. So we had plenty of time to make that drive. That's why it's so important to keep your timeouts.
Willie, how much influence does an experienced older quarterback like Connor have on game planning? And how have you seen him and Nagel sort of find a groove together?
Well, I just think, Connor is getting more and more comfortable with our offense. It's like I've said many times before, I think this is right. I think this is the 4th different offense in 4 years, when you include high school. They had Coach Fisher, then he had Coach, the next offense they ran, and then now obviously us. So he's been in some different, structures of offense, and I think he's done an excellent job of picking him up. He's a smart guy and understands things, knows where to go. I thought he really played smart, on Saturday and did a good job of leading the offense, the right way. And, and him and Coach Nagel and Coach Bell's very involved also. They do a good job of communicating but I was impressed. I thought he played really smart football.
Coach, when it comes to your field goal unit, what kind of value do guys like Jake Sock and Jacob Garza bring to that group?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. They're unsung heroes. They really are. You got to have an accurate snap. You got to have a very specific, accurate hold, and both those guys do a tremendous job of that. And then, the rest of the field goal team needs to do a super job with protection. On that last one, they'd gotten a little bit of D-gap pressure, and I thought Alvin Ebisoli did an excellent job on the last one of not allowing that to occur. So, yeah, you're right. If you don't have good snap, good hold, and then light and great protection, you're not going to have great kick. So it all has to work in unison with each other.
Coach, going back to the Stephon injury, how important is it that the last couple of weeks you've been able to integrate guys like Kobe and Harvey and Jaquez into the offense? So, to
very important. This is a tough game. And unfortunately, it's as I've said before, it's a collision sport. And you get guys injured from time to time. It's the only thing I don't like about football. I love everything else about the game. So you better have some depth, and we've developed some depth with Kobe and Jaquez Martin and Harvey Broussard, and then we had to do that with the tight end position as well. With Caleb Thomas has been playing some, Travell Frederick has been playing. So you got to have depth. I've never gone through a season where I had the same 22 dudes starting on offense and defense. It's never happened before. So you better have some depth, and we're a lot better than that. I talked about that before the year began, that we got some depth, so if we get a couple injuries, it's not going to be a bad situation. But hopefully we'll get a bunch of these guys back.
Coach, looking at Arizona State, what really impresses you about them, and they were able to get a big win over Texas Tech this week?
Well, obviously they're the defending Big 12 conference champion. Matter of fact, I actually went to their game against Texas, and they had a call here or there that they didn't quite get. They should have, would have, could have won the game. So Coach Dillingham has done a phenomenal job, and they've done a great job recruiting and very, very talented offense, defense, kicking game. So it's going to be a big time challenge for us.
Coach, how is Devin Williams progressing, and do you have a timetable for him to return?
Same thing. Every day we just, the trainers and the docs look at him, and hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. But one of the things I do, I'm not a doctor. I've never played one in a movie. I don't know anything about it. So I let the trainers and the docs, look at these guys and take care of them and tell us when they're healthy to play, and when they are, they come out and they play. So I let them determine those things.
Willie, given the change in athletics with the portal and NIL, did Arizona State present sort of a blueprint of how you can do things last year? Nobody really picked them to go far, and they ended up winning the league.
Yeah, I think they went from 3-9 to conference champs. And won the conference championship game, and this can happen in this day and age. If you're smart with how you do things, you got a chance to flip things quickly. Back in the old days, you developed guys. You still got to develop guys, but now you can get some guys who've got some experience on your team, and that's the goal for everybody.
Coach, Tanner, your senior tight end, is proving to be a top-tier tight end, not just in the Big 12, but just nationwide. For you, from your perspective and the coaching staff, was this a surprise, or was this more so expected?
No, I think he had 99 catches maybe his last year at Ball State, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I know it was a lot. And the thing I'm really proud of Tanner is he's really doing a good job blocking. There's very few one-dimensional players at the next level, and there's very few that can be a one-dimensional player and dominate in a Power 4 conference, and he really had a good game blocking. That was his best game blocking this last week, and I've had a lot of people call me and tell me that who I listen to, and they noticed it as well. So did a very good job blocking. We all know he's a great receiver, but he really blocked well last week.
Willie, how have you seen this offensive line improve even through injuries and different guys?
Well, we got 6 guys who are basically playing right now, and we're rolling those guys in and out at different spots, and I think they're doing a tremendous job of that team we played last week was very difficult to prepare for, with their shifts and stems and twists and second level guys and dropping, and I mean they did a lot of stuff, and it's very, very, very complicated to prepare for, and they're smart guys too, and you got to have smart guys every place, but in particular with the offensive line. So they've gotten better. I thought we did a good job in pass pro. We always do a stat, how many times the quarterback gets hit, and most of the time the quarterback when he got hit this past week was when we were running him. So that's going to occur. We know that, but they did a very good job of protecting him and keeping him upright. And when you do that, you got a clean pocket. You got a chance to get some plays down the field.
Coach, you talked a lot about Arizona's quarterback. Arizona State's quarterback is also able to kind of run around Sam Levitt's, able to make plays with his legs. What challenge does that kind of bring to a
You must have been in
defense?
our meeting this morning. We were talking about that. Both of them, they may not be the same size, but they both do a good job of extending plays and running the ball. And they've got an excellent quarterback. He's one of the top guys in the country at the quarterback position. So, you wish, 20 years ago, guys were getting in the pocket and they were statues. And, that's not the case anymore. It seems like all of them can move around a little bit, but we're going to be playing back-to-back weeks where the guys can really move around well.
Willie, back on offensive line, has Agnello moved into that right guard spot?
Yeah, he started this past week, and the six guys that were playing, Big Alvin and Dalton Merriman and Pancake Hunter and Matthew Wyckoff, McKenzie, Jason Brooks. Those six guys they're not interchangeable. Most of them play one position, but some of those guys, Matthew, Jason, McKenzie, they can play multiple positions. So we work them all week, playing a lot of different spots, and I kind of consider it that we got six starters, to be honest with you.
And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, just about the 4-game red shirt. Maybe guys that could or could not. With Austin Carlisle, I think he got in for the one play there. Have you kind of decided on what you'd like to do with him the rest of the way?
Yeah, we're looking at that this week and seeing it, because if we're going to play him, we want to play him. So that's something we're looking at. He's can do a lot of different things. So we're looking at that right now. But so we'll see a little closer to game day.
Coach, with Amari Thomas, his elusiveness and his ability to shed tackles, was that something that you kind of sought after, looking at his film at his former school?
We watched him, and one of the great things about Pro Football Focus (PFF) is you can just look at all catches, you can look at every time he blocks, you can look at drops, you can look at a bunch of different things, and he's very elusive, but he's, as I've said before, he's a really smart player. And we talk all the time about ball security, and you got to make sure you have the ball in your proper hand. He did a good job putting the ball away from pressure and using his offhand as a weapon and kind of knocking those guys away from him. And if he'd had the ball in the other hand, he couldn't have done that. And I know that sounds simple, but it's complex for some guys. So he did a great job of that, keeping his off arm free.
Switching to the defensive side of the ball, your defense is playing well, but there have been 5 games, or out of 5 games, you guys have started from behind. Now you guys came back from 4 out of the 5 games, but going up against a tough opponent like Arizona State, how can you guys punch first?
Well, we definitely, you never have a plan of starting behind. It's like that first series. I think it was 3rd and 8 maybe, and we had an unblocked guy and we should have had a sack. Said it was a touchdown. So woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? So everybody's just got to be in the right place at the right time. But, whatever the game presents, you got to be able to play through it. But yeah, we always want to start fast. And it was great 2 weeks in a row. Our offense answered with a touchdown. So that was good as well.
Coach, discipline-wise on offense, what did you see on Saturday? And do you feel like it was
Well, we had very
step
few
in the-
penalties, number one. Number two, we didn't win the turnover takeaway, but it was even. It was a rare game where you had both teams with only 8 series and both teams with 0 turnovers. And so we had to match that. Either team would have had one, that would have really changed the complexion of the game, in my opinion. So it's great that we hung on to the ball.
You've had a lot of success with quarterbacks who can run over your career. Do you remember your first running quarterback, and was there a point your philosophy
probably
changed?
Bishop, Michael Bishop. When Michael played for me, one of my coaches, one of my assistants wanted to put in some quarterback run plays for Michael. I said, don't waste your time. It's called scramble. And they're all covered. He takes off and runs. So it was probably Michael, I would guess. And we had some at Coffeyville when I was a coordinator that were good runners as well. A kid named Johnny Mattress was a good runner for us there as well. I think he ended up playing at East Carolina. But yeah, he was one of the first ones, back in the mid-'90s.
Your philosophy changed on that?
Well, it just, it's, you're playing 11-on-11 football when the quarterback runs the ball. You got an extra blocker. That's why, some teams that the quarterback doesn't run real well, they get into the RPO game because that's also like playing 11-on-11 football. And, it's a chess match and you're trying to outnumber them at the point of attack. And, or would that be checkers? I don't know which one that would be. I don't play either one of them. But that's, you just want to outnumber them. And, you got an extra blocker now and the quarterback carries the ball. And we're lucky that he does, the thing he does a good job of is he runs vertical. He runs straight up the field. So he gets 5 yards instead of trying to pop it wide and get 2. So he does a very good job of that. But, but the secret to it is being able to throw the ball, successfully. And like that last drive, we had a nice, 6-yard slant to Kobe Young. And, it doesn't seem like much, but you got to defend the whole field, and that helps the run game out tremendously. They feed off each other. If you run the ball well, you're going to have an opportunity to be successful throwing the ball. Throw the ball well, you're going to be successful running the ball. So that's why, every place I've been, I've wanted to be. The only place I really wasn't was Georgia Southern. They already had all these running quarterbacks, and I'd have been an idiot to change anything. But we want to be able to be a 50-50 team if all possible.
Coach, kind of building on that running game, you guys had the most rushing yards in a Big 12 game for this program. With Connor's legs, he's played such a big part in that. Was that something that you guys saw immediately with him when you first got Connor, or was that something you saw?
Yeah,
in
you
practice?
watch his games from his previous institution and also in high school. He was a very good runner. I think people kind of forgot about that. And, plus he's very nimble. He buys time in the pocket. That was a great play where he threw the touchdown pass to Amari. He got some pressure from his left. He faded away to his right and still kept his eyes downfield and, threw a dart to Amari. So, guys that can move around back there, they extend plays so you can throw it, or they take off and run and make a big play. Happened to us against their guy, too.
Do you feel that kind of opens the lanes for Dean as well, being able to have, a great game plan?
I thought the best thing that our backs did is they ran behind their pads. They saw creases, and they ran behind their pads. And, there was, numerous carries that Dean had that if he didn't run behind his pads, they'd have been gains of 4 or 5. He turned them into gains of 10. So he kept his feet moving. He ran behind his pads. Good forward lean. Fat Burnett did that. DJ Butler did that. And then Connor did it. He ran vertical and run side to side.
Willie, after we spoke to you Saturday, each of the players that came in spoke of the week-to-week mentality that you guys have, and that bowl's great, but that's not the end goal. How important is it that, yes, you got this one accomplishment checked off, but that you don't just settle and move on?
I think our guys totally understand it. It's a goal and everything else, but, man, we got a lot of our number one goal this week, obviously, is Arizona State. They've got a great ball club. I got a ton of respect for them. And we got to be all in with our preparation this week in order to be successful. So, we're playing on the road. I know they've got a great environment there. Yeah, we got to be all locked in on them.
Overall, your second year here, a little bit over halfway through the season. This season, what's been the best part?
Oh, we'll find out at the end of the year, right? And one other thing I wanted to make sure we mentioned is about Warren McVeigh. You know, he passed away the other day. I'm from Kansas City, played for the Chiefs. I heard about him long time ago. You know, long before I was head coach at the University of Houston. I believe, you guys fact check me on this, he's a first black student athlete scholarship guy, not just at the University of Houston, but in the state of Texas. I think that's correct as well. And you know, he passed away. So, you know, our condolences to his family. And we're going to do something with our helmet decal for the game also. And you know, but I talked to our kids about it and sent them out some literature on that. And that's a neat thing that the University of Houston, you know, is promoting and you know, and proud to be a Cougar coach. Anything else? Thank you.